everything today?
Fantastic.
Like when we used to live in Hong Kong, they used to always ask this, when you say, how are you? They used to say, are you busy? And if you don't say you're busy, you are just like, oh, that means there's something wrong with your business. So anyway, welcome to the second talk of Get Unbusy. And I recognize many people who have come to several of Lama Marut's talks. So the introduction about Lama Marut and Cindy B would not be necessary, but I also see some new faces. How many of you are coming here for the first time? 1, 2.
How many didn't come last night?
All the regulars. All the regulars. Skip class.
So anyway, welcome to everyone and special welcome to the newcomers. All these talks are organized by Asian Spiritual Classics, which is a small sangha, and I'm a volunteer, like many of the other people who are doing the service to get these talks and many other things to happen. So if you want to know more about Asian Spiritual Classics, Angie, Chuck, Vaishali, me, or someone would be able to give you some information. Lama Marut has been visiting Singapore over the last 6 years, several times, including some special retreats in Bintan and Borobudur, and he's been teaching many different kinds of topics. He's a wonderful speaker, so those of you who were there yesterday who would know, it was such a nice talk, and the discussions were very interesting towards the end. So we look forward to something like that today as well. Today there are 2 sessions, okay? 3 to 5 now, and then later 7 to 9. So just to kind of manage the time, we'll do all the questions probably towards the end, meaning like after the second session, so that it gives you guys some time in between to do whatever else and come back for the 7 o'clock talk. A few small housekeeping things. Mobile phones, of course, we heard a lot about smartphones yesterday, so silence them, get them to the unbusy mode. There must be a get unbusy mode in the phones now. And then don't bring any food into the yoga studio if that's possible. If you want to have a snack or something just outside over there is easier. And enjoy the talk. I will speak with you at the end of the talk about a few other things. So thanks a lot again for coming, and let's welcome Lamaji and Cindy. Yeah, and one other thing about the handouts. I think some people who have made notes, please try to use them and then don't throw them away. We try to save some trees by not printing so many. So there are some for those people who don't have handouts or who have not brought them. But if you have left them behind at home, please use them and then bring them back or give it for somebody else. If anyone doesn't have, I'm going to just pass them.
So thank you, Ramesh. We thought we'd start each session with just a brief meditation as a way to underline the theme of Get Unbusy. All of these meditations that we'll do at the beginning of this class, and the meditations that we'll be teaching next week at Pure Yoga weekend course, all of these are for busy people who maybe don't have time to do a half an hour or 45 minutes every morning, but you can do meditations like the one that we'll do now and the one that Cindy led yesterday and the ones that we'll teach you over the course of the next week. At any time during the day, when you start to feel like jangled or nervous or something like that, you can take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and just do a meditation like this, okay? So get into your proper relaxed posture. The most important thing is to have your back straight. If you're sitting on a chair, to have your feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths and just let all the tension go. Settle in. And just start from the head and work down and relax every part of your body. Relax your forehead. Any tension you're holding in your forehead, relax your eyes. Relax your cheeks, your mouth, your neck, your shoulders, your torso, your stomach, your legs. Make sure you're not holding any tension in any part of your body. Then relax your mind. Stop thinking about what's already happened and stop thinking about what could happen in the future. Let go of all worry and stress. Be here now. And right now there's nothing to do. There's nothing that you need to do. You're sitting in a yoga studio relaxed. Phones are all off. There's nothing to check. So give your mind a vacation, a holiday, and just relax. Notice where you are. You are in Oasis Holistic, in a yoga studio. Use your own inner GPS. Locate yourself in space. In this yoga studio, you're in Singapore, you're in Asia, you're on planet Earth. And then notice when you are. You're not an hour ago, you're not 2 weeks ago, you're not a week from now. You are here, now, in the present. So notice what's happening in the present. Listen to the sounds of the present. Feel the air around you. Pay attention to any smells that you can smell in the present. And just notice that everything's okay. Nobody's just been hit by a truck. Nobody's in excruciating pain. Nothing to do, no stress, no anxiety, everything's fine here and now. So relax. Maybe intentionally, slowly, without too much effort, slow down your breathing. Relaxed, our breath is very slow and fine. So you can help yourself relax by manipulating your breath a little bit. So give that a go. Give yourself a break. Then slowly try to come back, open your eyes, and bring that sense of relaxation into your life now, into the next hour and a half, 2 hours or so of the class. Okay, easy, right? Easy. Anyone can do it. And you can do it at any time, it doesn't take long. How long did I do it? 3 minutes maybe? Right? And it makes a difference. It makes a difference in your life. You have to learn these kinds of survival skills now, in order to not lose our minds in the kind of lives that we're all leading. So you can do that. You can do that at any time during the day. So I think we'll start with a little review. Cindy will review what we did last night a little bit, and then we'll forge ahead.
Okay, welcome everybody. Who was here last night? Okay, good. Oh, good. All right. Yeah, because it's good if, I sort of lead the review, but also you remind yourself of what you heard. So, first of all, this is about Get Unbusy, and remember the subtitle is Defecting from the Cult of Busyness, and Marut was talking yesterday about busyness being cult-like, almost like religious fervour. Remember that? So when we sort of have this compulsion to say that we're busy because we relate it to our self-esteem, we have exhaustion as a status symbol. Exhaustion as a status symbol. When someone calls you and says, how are you? And you say, oh my God, I'm so busy. That's sort of like cult-like, like religious fervour of you having this great self-esteem about being so busy because you relate it to your own importance, your own self-esteem, right?
Salvation through busyness.
Salvation through busyness. So the first bit was really just defining busyness. And then the second part of the teaching, we were looking at why we're so busy. So I thought we could do, like yesterday, crowdsource busyness. And I wanted to know what you remember or what you maybe thought of overnight about why you personally are staying so busy, or anything that you heard last night that you really responded to, that moves you, gives you that compulsion to stay busy.
One of the thoughts which came to me when I was going back yesterday was like worrying about health and parents' health.
Mm-hmm. And why does that keep you busy?
Imminent, like, oh, I should call them, or I should check on them, or I should, to the extent that, like, oh, if you don't do it, it's like some sort of restlessness. I did notice that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, good. So
it's sort of like a worry, I guess.
Yes, worry and anxiety. Yeah.
Worry and anxiety.
Yeah, compulsion.
You know that term, helicopter parenting? You're a helicopter son?
I think it's right. Stress and anxiety, the continual stress and anxiety keeps us feeling very busy. Anyone else? Yes.
It's hard to say no.
Hard to say no.
Guilty.
Yes.
Say no.
Oh, we're going to address that today.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And so we talked a little bit about creating some boundaries. So trying to create some boundaries in your work life and personal life around when you're contactable and when you're going to be available to email. So trying to be able to create some sanity in your life through boundary making around when you're working, because the smartphone has made you available all the time. Jay? Asana? Ladies first.
I realized that it's possible to even have experienced something like yoga stress. Even to live in Bali and teach just way too much yoga every day can flip out of the balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, I got a quote about the busyness, sort of like an aggression that we overlay onto all aspects of our life, and so people now have yoga injuries or sports injuries. Like the book I was reading, they were talking about how their friend was injured in yoga because the teacher pushed them down into the splits. Because you've got to get into the splits today, and so that sort of busyness of like you've got to get to the top immediately, and so we push ourselves in our leisure and our spiritual life, that we continually push ourselves to be busy, to achieve. We bring all of that stress that we might bring in our work into our spiritual life, and people get injured and mentally injured and emotionally injured and so on, because we don't have the sort of expansiveness of appreciating the slowness of the journey.
If you're stressed out in your spiritual life, it's no longer a spiritual life.
Chuck, were you going to say something?
I find that sometimes at home that talking about doing things repetitively or doing things so you don't have to engage in the presence, right? So I'm always like fiddling and fixing and cleaning and moving things around, right? So maybe so I don't have to engage in the actual moment, right?
Right.
And filling those little uncomfortable times with oh, well, the pepper shaker's not turned in the right direction. So, like, CTC, I bet you there's loose pepper grains under the pepper shaker. There is. And then I'll have to engage with whatever's going on around me.
Yeah. So Marut was talking about how when he has one thing to do, everything else gets done. It might be something like that. But also there was the part in the talk yesterday where we were speaking about how many of us keep ourselves so busy because if we stopped being busy, we would realize what we were running away from.
Yeah, correct. That's what I'm saying. So
That's right.
maybe I'm just afraid to engage with
Yeah.
the present moment.
Yeah.
So if I'm always running from it, then
Absolutely.
I don't have to.
Right.
Busyness is kind of a drug. It's like, alcohol or any other kind of drug. It can keep us from focusing on, reality actually, on what's actually happening in our lives and, purpose of our lives and all like that. It can be escapism.
Yes.
Yeah, busyness as escapism.
So good. We also talked about samsara being nothing other than having the feeling that there's something that needs to be done. Compulsion. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. See, the thing was that yesterday, after you guys talked, right, so I thought, okay, maybe look at models of busy and active, so I thought to myself, well, my dog's pretty active, but he's not very busy. But then, upon observing him through this morning, I noticed that when he hears sounds in the kitchen going on, like there's food being cooked or something like that, right, he starts scratching on the door and yelping and going, meow. So I'm wondering, it's not really so unbusy because, he's thinking he'll get left out
Yes.
of scraps, okay,
Yes.
and stuff like that. So I was thinking to myself, it's very possible that I supposedly lead a reasonably unbusy life. I have a suspicion that there are times when, it just flare up without me even doing just like a dog.
Yes. We flail around without even knowing it, just like a dog. So yeah. It's true. Habitual action rather than awakened habitual reaction rather than awakened action.
And then I realized, hey, what's happening? What's happening? And I always thought I was like this, but then the action is there.
Yeah. Actually, I realised this with my dog that he got taken on a walk every day. We definitely were going to take him on a walk every single morning. That's what's going to happen every morning. But every morning, we'd wake up, and then the anticipation would start, and he'd start with a little like I'm here, ready anytime, ready anytime. And you make a coffee, and it's like, are you making a coffee? I have to start begging, and and then you'd make your breakfast, and oh my God. They're making breakfast, they haven't taken me in a while, I better start knocking on the door. And he would do this every morning, getting more and more freaking out, why aren't we on a walk? But we went on a walk every morning. And I really thought to myself that he thinks that all of that is why we go on the walk. But we were always going to go on the walk. We never didn't go on the walk, but he thinks that he has to freak out for 2 hours and then we'll go on a walk, The Dharma of dogs. So lastly...
Teachers coming off on.
That's right. So lastly, one of the things we were talking about was, remember FOMO and FOF? And these two anxieties are really being displayed now a lot through social media. So yes, because we're too busy to say fear of missing out, we say FOMO, but FOMO means fear of missing out. So fear of missing out means that sometimes we remain busy because we have a fear of missing out on pleasant experiences. So this is how we get a little deeper into our stress-based body, our survival instinct body, our habitual response body, which runs on a fear of missing out on pleasurable experiences. This is one of our primal instincts, right? FOMO. Fear of missing out on pleasurable experiences is one of the major energies that run our life when we're not conscious of it. We allow to run our life, right? Raga. fear of missing out on pleasurable experiences. So in terms of social media, you know, like I said yesterday, you see Jackie's put up her picture of Angkor Wat, and you think, oh my God, Jackie's gone to Angkor Wat. I haven't been to Angkor Wat. What's going to happen if I don't go to Angkor Wat? You know, I'm missing out on some pleasurable experience that Jackie's having. Maybe she got enlightened at Angkor Wat. I'm not freaking out like a dog. And what's so interesting about FOMO, fear of missing out, is that you're missing out on the pleasant experiences of the present moment, right? You can't be available for what's happening right now. You can't enjoy what's happening right now because you're throwing yourself into the pleasant experience that you're missing out on that Jackie's having. So FOMO is so ironic. You have a fear of missing out on pleasant experiences, and therefore you miss out on the experience of living here and now, which is the only pleasant experience you could possibly have. Living here and now, you know, that's where your experience is. So fear of missing out, and then what's FOF? Fear of failure. Fear of failure. So the other primal energy that runs us is a fear of pain, a natural evolutionary response, because there was so much danger, you know, in our sort of evolutionary cellular structure. There was so much danger that we run on fight, flight, freeze. We have a fear of pain. We have a fear of failure. So that's another reason we keep so busy. And I think we were talking about the fact that we have such a fear of failure that we stay busy not doing the one thing that we really feel passionate about doing. Do you remember this? Yeah. We have such a fear of failure of doing the thing that we really keep so sacred in ourselves. I think yesterday's example was, I really want to join the circus, you know. And everyone laughed, and that's the exact example of why you don't want to tell anyone. Because it's so precious to you and people think it's ridiculous, or you were told as a kid, that's a stupid goal, you're never going to make it. You know, so the very passion that we have of what we really want to do to express our gifts in the world, we have a fear of failure of that. So we do everything else really well maybe too. Or we do other people's jobs really well, which brings us to the next part of the class yesterday, which was doing what is there to be done. And you remember this verse from the Bhagavad Gita that we stalled out on because it's so magnificent. It is better to do one's own duty imperfectly than to do the duty of another well. It is even better to die doing one's own duty. The duty of another is perilous. So that relates to that fear of failure as well. I don't know if this has been something in your life, but in mine certainly, like I was able to throw myself into other people's projects, other people's creative projects and so on, because it wasn't mine, and I was so afraid of putting myself out there because I might fail doing it, and so I would do someone else's job really well. Put all my creative energy, you know, into doing something for someone else, but not really address my own passion. So remember, we were talking about the 3 kinds of Dharma, the way that you can find your Dharma in the world. And the context of that was really knowing your priorities, getting your priorities clear so that you know how to act, so that you know where to put that precious time and energy that you have per day. Every day we have only so many thoughts that we can think. We have so many actions we can perform. We have only so many breaths that we can take. Only so much energy that we can put into things every day. And so we need to be able to prioritize, and the way that you prioritize is knowing what your Dharma is. Remember? Knowing your Dharma. What is your Dharma? So, what were the 3 kinds of ways that we could think about finding our Dharma? Svadharma? Kula Dharma? Sanatana Dharma. Right. When we can find these 3 sort of perspectives so that we really understand what our Dharma is, we know how to prioritize, we know where to put our energy, and we know how to stop ourselves from getting distracted from our Dharma. One of the things that we were talking about yesterday was mindfulness. And Marut was saying, you know, mindfulness is the ability to stay present for what's happening, right? Remember, mindfulness is the ability to stay present for what's happening. But also you could say that, that as well, we really need to train on what is worthy of our attention and what is not worthy of our attention. You know, because what's happening, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening. And again, Facebook is a fabulous example of this. So I go on Facebook to, I've got to email Jackie, right? So I better go on Facebook to email Jackie. Oh, but I'll just check the feed. Oh, there's a cat. Oh, what did Donald Trump say today? Oh, someone I don't even know that got married. I'll look at their photos. And an hour goes by and what have I forgotten to do? Email Jackie, you know. It's like, do you walk down the street to get milk and then you see a cat and you just follow it down the road? You know? Or you see someone get married and you just turn up at their wedding? You know, it's crazy. It's crazy that we do that on Facebook. And it's because we have not trained our attention. We skip over things like, you know when you throw a stone across the water and it just skips like that? The attention just bounces on everything, and especially the things that have lights and music and cats, and you think that that's worthy of your attention. But it's pretty, you know, oh, there's colours in it, or it's moving. And we skip like a stone, skipping along it because we have not learnt how to filter out irrelevancy. It's not relevant to do that now because what I'm doing is emailing Jackie with my precious time and energy from the morning. I have to communicate with my friend about our lunch or whatever, you know. And so mindfulness and the ability to know what your Dharma is helps us prioritize and know where to put our energy, right? So that we're not, because when I haven't emailed Jackie after an hour, I feel busy. I feel too busy to email her because I've spent an hour doing other things. And immediately I feel too busy. Oh my God, I've got to call, you know, email Jackie. It could have taken 5 minutes, but it's taken an hour and 5 minutes. And I feel too busy, overwhelmed. So your Dharma, Svadharma. So yesterday, and there's many ways to interpret all of this, but yesterday we really looked at Svadharma as a way to get in touch with your passions, your proclivities, your interests, right? We were looking at as well like what inspires you or other people that inspire you. They inspire you because maybe that's something that you feel called to do. Or even like people that you're a bit jealous of. Because jealousy shows you when you sort of think, oh, they shouldn't be doing that, I could do that much better. Actually, that's because you want to do it. They're really, if you can move through jealousy like that, you recognize that people that you're jealous of are your gurus. Because that's what you want to do. So you can find your passion through those emotions that you have. So Svadharma. We were talking about this actually this morning at breakfast because I'll share something personal, sorry. I didn't ask for permission. But it's really interesting because when we first started teaching together, I used to get really nervous. Like really, really nervous. Just feel sick and, you know, part of my mind was just like, oh my God, I hope the building falls down, you know, like that, like freaking out like a dog. You know, very, very nervous about it. And then, you know, when I asked him, do you get nervous? It's like, no. In no way does he get nervous. But then recently we've been playing music together. I sing and play piano and he plays guitar. And all of a sudden it's reversed. So I can sit up in front of everybody and sing and I don't feel nervous at all. Even though I'm not like a fantastic singer, but I don't know, I can just do it. And he shakes playing his guitar, you know, he gets nervous. So I thought this was a really interesting way yeah, your hand shakes. Sorry. No, but you get nervous, right? Yeah.
Strumming pattern.
Yeah. But anyway, when we were discussing it this morning, you know, we were talking about the fact that maybe that relates to what your Dharma is too, because in some cases you feel confident about it and you feel as though it's sort of your calling and you don't care so much if people don't like it because you're really passionate about it, you know. So that's one way to think about your Dharma. Then when we moved to Kula Dharma, we also looked at the fact that sometimes you were born into a family, like I was born into a family of performers. And no matter how much I tried to escape from it, it's kind of my dharma too, you know. So you can also think about your duties and your proclivities in terms of like, what kind of family were you born into, or what kind of community were you born into, your responsibilities toward your community and your family. And also the fact that we were born sons, daughters, or we had kids and so on, that's clear responsibilities that you have. And Sanatana Dharma is then beyond the personal to the sort of transpersonal of what is your, what were you put here on earth to do spiritually? You know, your Sanatana Dharma is really recognizing your true nature, recognizing the interconnectivity of all phenomena, recognizing that you're part of the galactic network, you know, the cosmic network of love and connection. Now that's a pretty good dharma to have, right? That's a pretty good priority to have, is to connect every day to truth, to your true self and the truth of reality. You know, Sanatana Dharma is to get in touch with reality. And so that's a priority, right? And then lastly, this part of the verse about doing your own duty imperfectly rather than doing the duty of another well is sort of a nice way to just remind us that, you know, we do only have a short amount of time to be on earth, and how about expressing ourselves in the most messy, vulnerable, embarrassing, you know, failing way possible, but knowing we lived our lives. Not that we lived someone else's life, that we lived like what we thought other people should, you know, what other people think we should do, but really found our dharma and expressed it. And no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times you're laughed at or whatever, but how good would it be to know you lived your life? And I think if you look at literature on people that are dying, that is one of the regrets. I wish that I'd done my passion, I wish I'd lived my life, you know, because so many of us hide. I think, what's that poem? When you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. So many times we close it off, we're too embarrassed to show that, but really that's what we want to do, right? We want to express the gifts, we want to express the universe through our body, speech and mind. And so that would be a good way to live your dharma. Not live somebody else's idea of what you should do. You know, we're all grown-ups now, right? We've all been guided in certain ways as kids, and that's fine, but that would be a good way to live, I think. Yeah.
All right, so we'll forge ahead now to class 2. This class we've entitled Getting Organized. So part of the project of getting unbusy is to get organized, so that we have our priorities in order. So this whole class is about how to get those priorities in order. And I think everyone will have slightly different understandings of what their own priorities are, but it's important to know what they are. It's important to figure it out. And there's one real easy test for this. And we'll come back to it in the middle of the class, and it'll be the exercise for this class. One real easy way to figure out what your priorities are, and that is to remember death. To remember the fact that you are mortal. Anyone here not immortal? Not mortal? Immortal? Anyone superhero? Anyone? So we all will die. That's for sure, okay? That's not debatable, is it? It's like, anyone want to like say, no, I'm not going to die. But, you know, so we all know this intellectually, but this is the one thing that we know for sure, and the one thing that we really don't want to think about. How does that make sense? The one thing that we know in the future for sure will happen is something that we avoid thinking about at all costs. It makes no sense, right? So realizing that your life is finite, that you only have a certain amount of hours in your life, and a bunch of them have already passed. Have you noticed? Like, right? You only have a finite number, and a lot of them have already gone. So, you know, get clear. What do you want to do with the rest of your time? And there's not that much left for anyone, okay? And for some of us, it could be very short. You know, you could die tomorrow. Any one of us could die tomorrow. Could die today, actually. You know, no guarantees, right? So that's really a good way to get clear, really quick, on what's important here. You know, what's important to do with your life. So that's the class, really. So we can all go home now. You know, you figure it out. You figure out like what's important. And so yesterday I said that we were not time management consultants, and that these classes are not about managing time. But today I'm going to reverse myself and say, no, actually we are time management consultants. But it's, you know, it's not like the 10 tips for how to be productive or whatever the hell those books are, you know. You know, the 10 tips that successful people use to like make a lot of widgets. This is spiritual time management, from the spiritual point of view, right? Prioritizing what's important, and what is most important in all of our lives is our spiritual life. And that's kind of important to get clear. So another part, Cindy will go through the death awareness meditation in detail, but another part of it is to think, what's going to matter when I die? You know? It's not a matter of if, when I die. What's going to really matter? You see? What will I look back on my life and say, like, you know, I either was successful or not successful at. And it's not going to be about how much money you made. It's not going to be about what kind of cars you drive. It's not going to be about how cool your flat is. You see? It's not even going to be about how many friends you had, or it's going to be about did you do your best to live a good life? That's what's going to matter. So you could say that's spiritual. That's what spirituality means. Trying to live a good life. So you know, prioritizing what's important. And another way, and then we'll look at some verses from the ancient texts that can guide us. Another way to implement